All right, let's jump to this first story from the National Post. Jordan Peterson suspended from Twitter. Says it might as well be a ban because I won't apologize. Quote, if I can't be let back on because I won't apologize, I could care less, Jordan Peterson told the National Post after Twitter suspended his account over a tweet about Elliot Page. I don't think Jordan Peterson said anything about Elliot Page.
Did not, no.
He was referring to an Ellen Page.
Mm-hmm.
On June 28th, the controversial author, I like how they say he's controversial, clinical psychologist and professor emeritus at the University of Toronto lost access to most of his Twitter account features because of a tweet he posted earlier in the week that used transgender actor Elliot Page's former name and suggested he had his breasts removed by a criminal physician. So he said, quote, I penned an irritated tweet in response to one of the latest happenings on the increasingly heated culture war front, Peter told the National Post. As far as Peterson is concerned, the temporary suspension might as well have been a ban because he would rather die than delete the tweet in question, he said. Does the tweet stay up when that happens?
I think so. I'm going to have to check it out.
Stays up private, I think.
Private?
They want you to be the one to take it down, to admit you're wrong.
Which is psychologically manipulative.
That's a very psychological move. It's like no one can see it, but you have to remove it yourself. Mm-hmm. Like we could remove it, but you have to do it, or you can't come back on.
Atone.
Very interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like making a kid go out into the woods and pick his own switch.
Yeah, it is very much so.
Yes, but I think it's a legal thing. I think it's a legal thing.
Is it?
Yeah, I think they're like, we can't tell you.
Liability?
Yeah, like we can't remove it because then we're directly involved or something like that.
And also then where's the proof? If you're like, hey, where's your proof that I violated terms? There's nothing up.
Right, but then there's also, I mean, like Facebook's removed all sorts of stuff I put up over the years, and I'm sure Twitter has actually been fairly good to me on most stuff. But in terms of, I mean, I think they can remove stuff, but maybe only if it's, like you said, violating the terms. And if this is something that doesn't technically violate their terms, they're like, okay, well, we're just going to make you remove it. I'm honestly not sure what it is. It also might be because he's so prominent, they don't want to remove it. They want him to remove it and make that, like atonement for it. Yes. I honestly don't know.
If this was a small account, they would have gotten nuked.
They just, get nuked. Yeah.
Gotta send a message.
But I think the principal issue as to why he got suspended was because he said criminal physician, I think is what he said, right? Is that what he said?
Yeah, what he said.
What's his exact tweet?
Physician.
Right. And that's it right there. The insinuation of a crime or something is probably why they took it down.
Oh, okay.
Dead naming.
Yeah.
Yep. Not dead naming.
No? I thought that was against their policy.
I don't know. I issued a tweet. Like, so often when people get suspended for stuff like this, I will tweet something out.
Similar?
In the same vein, but specifically like jumping over the landmines of the rules.
Yeah.
So that I can effectively say something similar, but to prove a point, kind of just like make the point. Yeah, I didn't get suspended. Maybe, I don't know, knock on wood, spoke too soon. But after I heard that Jordan Peterson got suspended, I tweeted, who is Ellen Page and what does breast removed mean?
Yeah.
So by posing it as a question, the issue is with, YouTube and all these platforms, they don't want you attacking people. That's the real issue. They don't mind you criticizing people, but what Twitter, YouTube, and these other platforms have said, behind the scenes, or, I mean, actually they say it overtly, is their goal is a healthier conversation. So if you're being critical of someone, but you're doing it calmly, they're fine with it.
But if you start calling names and stuff, then that's when they... So you think it was more about the criminal accusation than about calling Elliot Ellen?
It's kind of vague. But the idea is these big social media platforms, they don't want to cultivate a culture around everyone throwing rocks and mud at each other.
Right.
So I talked to Google, and they told me... Because, we have Google partners. I actually know a ton of people who work at Google. And they said, we're trying to just clamp down on people who are angry, nasty people who make their shows based on just being nasty and mean.
Right.
And they were like, obviously, your show is nothing like that, so you have nothing to worry about. And I was like, I mean, I don't believe you, to be completely honest, but I appreciate you said that to me.
Right.
Just as a side note, I looked up the terms of service for Twitter, and it says they do prohibit targeting others with repeated slurs, tropes, other content that intends to dehumanize, degrade, or reinforce negative, harmful stereotypes. This includes targeted misgendering or dead naming. So I think that might have been what did it.
So that might have been it.
Not sure.
Or it might have been both, yeah.
So if you're a small account on Twitter, you get no benefit of the doubt.
Right, of course.
They just nuke you in 2 seconds. They don't care. For Jordan Peterson... If the putting criminal in there, I think is what put him over the edge of they're saying like you're attacking, you're being mean and nasty or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the dead naming. It probably played a role.
Probably couldn't help.
But I don't think Jordan Peterson knows who Elliot Page is or anything about that. You know what I mean?
Right,
I think he just saw something and was like, I can't believe they did this. Oh, I'm going to tweet about it. It's criminal. And then they were like, you're gone.
Yeah. So it might have been the dead naming that got their attention, but the letter of the rule that was broken was the criminal accusation.
Yeah, here's an interesting question, right? It is true that for a while, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook and big social media platforms, we're seeing a lot of people become very prominent off of just being really nasty. Yeah. Now, the problem is the left is still extremely nasty, and they get away with it all the time. So I recognize it's a problem. My problem is like, maybe you guys should actually do something to calm people down and foster healthier conversations instead of just banning conservatives.
Yeah. This is why last night we talked about Christianity. I brought up like the cult of Christianity. I think when you're criticizing a cult, it's different than criticizing the individuals. If you're criticizing the tenets of a cult, like the transgender ideologies of like, I was born in a male body, but I want to call myself a woman now. If you question that, that's really not a big problem. If you go after the individuals that are experiencing it, then you're on hot water. Like he brought up Elliot's name, Elliot Page. And now that's like, now you're bringing someone into it, an innocent bystander, almost a part, someone that's part of it.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said, a difference between someone giving their, in their mind, principled take either way on the transgender debate or discussion, and like, for example, on the anti side, going after making fun of suicide rates or something, and going after individual people with memes about suicide or something like that. That goes over the line of having a discussion about their disagreement with the idea of gender not being tied to biological sex, and actually saying, well, I'm going to attack this person. So that would be an example of that, and obviously there are other examples on the other side as well. But it's the difference between having even a heated debate and going at someone personally, like you said, to your point, attacking them.
Well, here's an issue. Jordan Peterson has a lot of very, very important things to say, least of which is his comments about Elliot Page.
Right.
Should he just say, fine, delete the tweet, so he can carry on saying the more important things to his 2.8 million followers? This is the challenge. I think Jordan should probably set up a Truth Social account or something where he can tweet all day about these ideas,
right,
but not give up the battlefield over this one thing. It's tough, isn't it?
That's a judgment call for him to make. He has to. It really comes down to he has to decide how important what he was trying to say in that tweet was, right? Like, is that worth giving that up? And it's not just what's in that tweet, but the idea of something that Jordan Peterson has said a lot is, I'm not going to say something that I don't agree with just because it'll make things easier. So if that's, the hill he's willing to die on, even if it's not necessarily in and of itself that important, he may back away from the whole thing. And that's, I'm not even saying that I agree with that decision being made, but he's the one that built that platform or built that audience, and it was on that kind of principle. So it's a judgment call, man. Like, if he asked me what should I do, I'm not sure I'd have a good answer for him.
It feels like a metaphor for this would be, or some kind of example, Jordan Peterson, they swept the leg. They knocked him down. And he says, you're not supposed to sweep the leg, so I'm done fighting. And it's like, whoa. You didn't lose. The fight's still happening.
Yeah.
Don't walk away just because they pulled a cheap shot.
Right.
Get up and try and win. And so the concern I have here is, I get that it was bad that they're censoring him. He should be allowed to express these ideas. They should not be censored. But if Jordan Peterson has a million important things to say, and one of them got him knocked down, it's not only did he say it, what he said has been blasted off a millionfold.
Everyone's seen it, yeah.
It's been seen substantially more than ever before, and he can say, I got my message out there. Let's get back to work.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge with the censorship issue, is everybody's saying, like, we shouldn't be on YouTube, and I'm like, retreat from the battlefield so that we can go into a high school parking lot and talk to no one?
Yeah.
Or recognize there are certain things that will get us kicked off the battlefield, and we got to fight with what, space we have.
Yeah.
And then we set up the Timcast.com, members only show so that we can try and still do this. We are working on stuff behind the scenes in terms of infrastructure. Just, we can only go as fast as humans can go, but hopefully we'll have some big announcements coming soon. And I think I kind of feel like Jordan's made his point. He can come back on Twitter and he can start smack talking again. You should go for it.
I think you made a good point, Spike, that he's made kind of his career around, or a big part of his career is like, I'm not going to use compelled. You cannot compel me to say something I don't believe. And in this situation, I think if he did recant and say, okay, fine, I'll do whatever you want. I'll bend the knee, that he'll lose 40%, 30% of his followers, or like they'll just lose faith in him. And right now he's got the faith of humanity on his side. So wherever he goes, whatever he does, people will listen, people will follow.
He also could be playing the long game of expecting Elon Musk to purchase Twitter so he can come back triumphant however many weeks, months from now and say, see, look, I didn't bend. I said what I said, and I'm not going to back off. And you can take that to the bank that I'll never back off of something that I believe. And if that ends up playing out that way, then he ended up playing a much longer game than the rest of us.
Here's an idea: he can take his tweet down, and then as soon as his account is reopened, issue a new tweet saying, "Follow me on Truth Social because screw this platform, they're censorious." Try and pull as many of their users off the platform as possible to make them suffer.
Yeah.
That's one way to do it. I mean, look, if Jordan Peterson's saying he's going to nuke, he's never coming back to Twitter, it's like, all right, give him one final show. Come back on and be like, come on, everybody, party's out here. Let's get out of here.
And then delete your own account.
And then, or you just put a big, if you want to see what Jordan Peterson say, here's the link to Truth Social.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to do it, man.
Do minds. Truth Social's Trump will ban you for talking crap about him on Truth Social.
That's true.
I have to give a shout out to my friend Reed Coverdale, because what he does is whenever a new, so-called free speech platform comes out, he immediately goes on, creates an account, and says a bunch of stuff that ticks conservatives off. And so, immediately go on there and be like, I'm not even sure if I should say this stuff because we're streaming on YouTube.
Smart.
But saying a bunch of various things that might tick people off on the center right, and see how quickly it takes him to get kicked off. And it's usually measured in minutes or hours. And so he says, these typically, and I'm not sure about Truth Social particularly, but in general, any of these things, it's more not necessarily free speech entirely, but more conservative friendly speech, as opposed to the Twitter version where it's more progressive or centrist friendly speech. He has a so far he's batting 1,000 for getting knocked off these platforms.
Shout out to Reed Coverdale.
Yes.
Nice job.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.